Hi everyone, here's a promised video on how to calculate the mean and standard deviation of a frequency table. So I'm going to close this completely and I'm going to go to the problem and I'm going to open the data. So this is how we open it in Excel. I'll click on it down here at the bottom and then it opens with this enable editing. Highlight in yellow, and I'm going to enable editing so that I get this full ribbon at the top. I want to make it take up half my screen, so what I'm going to do is not what I just did. That was sad. I'm going to go find that problem again. There it is. I'm going to drag this over, and it's going to pop up and let me select this for the other hand side of my screen. I'm done with the data now. So let's say that I have no idea how to calculate the mean for a frequency table. I'm going to go to question help and view an example. And the example will pop up the equation that I need. It tells me that xi is the midpoint or value for the ith class and that fi is the frequency of the ith class. And so I have ith classes over here and I need a midpoint for them. If you remember the midpoint calculation from class, it would just be equal the first lower class limit plus the second lower class limit, and I need to divide it by 2. I don't want it to only divide the second term by 2, so I need to wrap it in parentheses. So that we'll first do the addition and then divide by 2. I'm going to hit enter and I get 100. I probably could have done that in my head, but just in case, let's work on the actual calculation. So right in the middle of 0 and 200 is 100. And now all I have to do is add 100 to each of the lower limits to get a midpoint for each class. So this equals the first lower class limit plus 100. And I'm going to hit enter. And I get 100 like I should because that one's 0. And now I'm just going to drag it down to the bottom of the table. And I'll double check at the end. I've got 1200 to 1399 and right in the middle of that is 1300. Going back to the question help and view an example, I can see that I'm going to need the sum of the midpoint times the frequency, and I'm also going to need the sum of the frequencies. So I'll go ahead and grab the sum of the frequencies now. I'm going to highlight them all. And then I'll just go up to this top corner with the little capital sigma, and I'm going to click on it. And it adds them up at the bottom for me. So now I have the denominator. I'll go ahead and name that guy. The denominator, denom, is sitting right here, so that I can remember what it is later, and I can even color it in so that I can easily find it. That's the denominator. Now I need the x sub I times f sub I. So let's name this x sub I times f sub I. And now I'm going to do the appropriate clicking for it. This is equals. I'm going to go click on x sub I, which I didn't label, but I can fix that in a minute. And click on that, x sub I, times the frequency, enter, and I'll just drag it down. And now I have my x sub I times f sub I, and I need the summation of that. So once again, I'm going to go to the corner and click the sum. I'll go ahead and label this for thoroughness, x sub I. Okay, so now this is the numerator. I'll call it num for numerator, and I'll color it in a different color. That's easy to read. So then I'm going to say the mean is equal to, and over here I'll say equals. I'm supposed to take this summation and divide it by this summation. Okay, I'll double click it so you can see the color coding. I took the blue box and I divided it by the red or pinkish box. Okay. That gave me a mean, and now I'm going to close this and look at the homework problem. It wants the sample mean of the amount of savings is in dollars, and it needs the nearest dollar. So if I round this to the nearest dollar, that means no change. I can, in fact, hit this dollar sign at the top. And I can also eliminate the decimals. So it is $235. Yay! Okay, now I have to do the sample standard deviation. So let's pretend again that we don't know how to do that, and we're going to view an example and continue until we get to this equation, which is what I was looking for. This is the equation for standard deviation. So it needs a square root, and a summation on the bottom. Let's deal with the bottom first. This summation should look familiar. It looks just like this summation. So it's just the sum of the frequencies minus 1. I can go over here and check. The sum of the frequencies was 537. So this would just be 537 minus 1 is 536. So I'll make a new line and say for standard deviation denominator, that's just equals this minus 1, which is 536. I'll color it in a totally new and unique color. And now I need to work on that numerator for standard deviation. That's more complicated. So for this, I need this whole summation, x sub I minus the mean squared times f sub I. All right, so I'm just going to say this is the top summation because that's too hard to type in. And at least I know what it is. Okay, so equals, I'm supposed to do, open parentheses, x sub I minus the mean. Where is the mean? Right here. Caret 2. Caret 2. Okay. If I just drag this down as is, it will keep moving E12. And I don't want E12 to move. E12 should always be this red box. I'm okay with D2 moving, so I'm okay with this blue box moving down as I move down over here. But I never want this red box to move. To stop the red box from moving, I'm going to click anywhere in the red up here, and I'm going to hit the F4 key at the very top of my keyboard. It's F4, F is in function, 4, and it's at the very top of my keyboard above the number 5 and the percent sign. All right, I still need my multiplication, so I'll click at the end, times, and I need Fi, which is right here, the purple box. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to drag that down. I need that added up, so I will go ahead and add it up. All right, so over here I'll call this is the num for standard deviation. Oops, the equal sign was not working out for it, so I'll remove the equal sign, and I will highlight these and color them in their own unique pretty color. Spread that out so it's easier to read. Okay, so if you recall, variance is standard deviation squared, and I have to take a square root here. So what I'm going to do first is just take the fraction. And when I take the fraction without the square root, it's actually the variance. So the variance is equal to the top divided by the bottom. Enter. That's variance. I need standard deviation. For standard deviation, I take the square root of variance. So equals SQRT, which is an abbreviation of square root. And then click on the variance and enter. I'm going to guess that this is also supposed to be dollar amount, so let's close this, and it wants round to the nearest dollar as needed. So I'll go ahead and hit dollar so that it looks like the answer should look. And I'll remove some of the decimals, and now I've got 231. I'm going to go enter 231. And I did a good job! Go team! Okay, I hope that answers your questions on how to make these calculations and hopefully gives you some practice in working with Excel. There's lots of different ways to organize Excel. There's lots of coloring options. Students make tables. You can change the font, make it bigger, make it smaller, zoom in so it's nice and easy to read. But play around with Excel. It'll do you a lot of good in our class. All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.